webinar. Today's webinar is entitled More Remote and Hybrid ESS Teaching and Learning Resources, brought to you from the organizations that sponsor this webinar series and the NGSS-ESS Working Group. It is myself, Aida Awad from NAGT. I'm past president and past secretary treasurer. Ed Robeck from the American Geosciences Institute, Missy Holzer from NESTA, and behind the scenes working all of our tech for us. Thank you so much, Mitchell from CERC and NAGT. And today's webinar, we have 11 organizations that are going to be presenting to us. They're shown here on the screen. And this webinar will be recorded, of course, as you know. It will be featured up on the AGI page, the AGI YouTube channel. We do have all of our webinars archived there on the AGI YouTube channel, so please visit that channel, look on playlists, and you will find all of our past webinars. There's a wealth of information in those webinars. I encourage you to take advantage of those. We have an upcoming webinar next month, November 12th, which will be a group from WestEd, who has taken over on NGSS from Achieve, and they will be presenting a webinar called Passing the Sniff Test, What Matters Most When Looking at Earth and Space Science Instructional Materials. We look forward to that. Registration will open, well, actually registration is open currently and will be sent out to all of you in the community very soon. During our webinar today, I would encourage you to type not only questions, but thoughts that you have into the chat box. We'll be monitoring that chat box as we go along. We will not stop during the presentations to talk about questions or thoughts. We will hold those for the end, but I do appreciate you entering those into the chat box as we go through. Also, as a reminder to the presenters, Ed Robeck will be timing your presentation. You do have 4 minutes. When there is 30 seconds remaining in your presentation, he will be giving you a little bell sound. If you hear 2 bells, then you do need to wrap up. And if you have 2 slides, please just give me a cue to advance to the next slide for you, and I will take care of that for you. Any questions, comments, thoughts before we get started? Otherwise, we're going to jump right into our presentations here. Okay, great, here we go. So Ann Benbow, you are up first. The floor is yours.
All righty.
Thank you.
I guess I will unmute myself because of that. Hello, everybody. I'm Ann Benbow. I am the Executive Director of the Mineralogical Society of America. And if you're not familiar with MSA, it is a scientific organization of mineralogists and petrologists and geochemists and crystallographers. And it's 101 years old, so it's been around for a while. And what we're trying to do with this particular little set of activities is really to branch out. I mean, MSA wants to reach out much more into the K-12 audience, into the collector community, the mineral collector community. And this was a perfect opportunity because Monday of this week, in case you haven't heard, was Minerals Day, the very first Minerals Day. We collaborated with AGI to do this, as well as the Gemological Institute of America and a number of other great organizations. So we put together a new little website for that. And I'm going to be taking you to that in just a second. But essentially what we wanted to do was divide up our resources for a K-12 audience. You can see that. And then we had a huge demand when the shutdown came from the college and university community, because they were desperate for resources to take the place of the labs. They just didn't have labs anymore. And then finally, we really want to reach out to the general public and the people who really collect and love minerals. So Aida, if we could just go to that link, thanks to you, it should work. All waiting with bated breath to see this. All right, so Minerals Day here, this is just one of the sub pages. If you take a look at the top menu very, very briefly, we have a list of events that are taking place during our Science Week. So these are resources as well. And we created, working with our partners, 2 special posters just for Minerals Day. And we have some great partners. So if we could just click on the K-12 resources there, Aida, that green down there, yeah. Go down to the, yeah, thank you. Doesn't help when you point at the screen, does it? Mineralogy for Kids is an MSA resource. It's for young children, all about rocks and minerals with keys that you can figure out which rocks and minerals are. So we've got all that. We linked back to AGI's fantastic Center for Geoscience Education, Earth Science Week, Big Ideas in Earth Science, all those kinds of things, as well as Minerals Education Coalition. So these are mainly things like activities, content, games, videos, everything that you could use if you're teaching K-12 and you really want to teach about rocks and minerals. If you want to go to the next one over, Aida, the post-secondary, these are what we pulled together. The first link there is were suggestions that came from the mineralogical community. Everybody pitched in and said, you need resources, well, here you go. So things like thin sections and videos, all those sorts of things, which were really valuable because they came from the community. And we actually have some online textbooks there as well, which are free. We had our centennial last year, and we videoed all the presentations at our symposium. Those are all available on YouTube. So you can see there we've got databases, we've linked to integrate, we've got a teaching mineralogy source, and then some really cool stuff with gems and minerals as well. So if we could just go to the general public. Okay, again, you're going to keep seeing mineralogy for kids, yeah, over and over again. But what we tried to do with this one was really branch out much more into the people who love minerals and love gems. And if you've never been to the Tucson Gem and Mineral Show, you've got to go at some time because it's like going into Aladdin's cave. It's absolutely amazing. So we try to take people on some virtual tours of museums. You'll see virtual tours of mines. All these kinds of things are all there. So essentially what we're trying to do is to provide online resources for 3 different distinct audiences. And there's also a feedback page on this little microsite. So if people want to say something or they have some new ideas for us or some additional resources, they can get in touch with me. I have twice as many as are there. I just didn't have enough time to get them all loaded on before Minerals Day launched on Monday. So that's my spiel, and I have not even heard a ding from Ed. So
you've heard 2 of them actually.
Did I? I didn't hear a single thing. Ed, you might be on mute.
Carolyn, you're up next, please.
All
Carolyn.
right. Sorry about that.
That's okay, thanks. Carolyn? Carolyn, you might be muted. You are muted.
Hi, everyone. Okay,
Perfect.
I'm just putting in a link here. Okay, so hi, everyone. My name is Carolyn Dreger. I'm with the USGS Cascades Volcano Observatory in Vancouver, Washington. And we have maybe a little different story from a lot of people who develop educator guides or curriculum. During the 1990s and during the culmination of research at Mount Rainier Volcano in Washington State, it became abundantly clear that there was a credible hazard from lahars, these volcanic mud flows at Mount Rainier. And so scientists were pretty alarmed. We went into local communities and had a lot of conversations with them. The response from teachers in the crowd was, don't tell us that we have a problem without giving us a solution. Give us some tools to deal with. Train us for how to teach about this in our community. And we countered with, okay, well, tell us what you want and be a part of the curriculum development process. And that resulted in a multi-year cross-organizational kind of a bottoms-up approach to writing a 32-activity educator guide, plus lots of background information about Mount Rainier. So this curriculum, you can see the address for it there. You can find it online. This is now available. It's been through numerous trainings, teacher workshops where it has received review. The 32 lessons are aimed at middle school, but they are cross-disciplinary in nature. They're activity-based. They contain a lot of background materials that are unavailable anywhere else, actually. There's very little popular literature out there about Mount Rainier Volcano and the new information that has been learned in recent decades. So there's a lot about historical perspectives, up-to-date geology, geologic processes, mitigation. I think one thing to the key, that is key to the success and popularity of this is that we explore just one concept in each activity. And we had lots of feedback from earnest teachers who would say, no, do it this way and not that way. So they are pretty much honed to what teachers have told us they want. So there are adaptations and extensions that promote the use of the activities at different grade levels. This was being done while the next generation science standards were being developed, but fortunately we had some people at our workshops who were part of that process at the state level in Washington State, and so which is the Washington State standards, very similar to the national standards that became law, regulation, whatever. So we have had to kind of put a chart in and kind of backfit, all the next generation science standards material into it. But regardless of that, we find these to be popular among teachers in Washington State. This curriculum can be used alone or can be used in conjunction with other teaching products. Key to our success, and go ahead, you can change the slide there, Aida. And we've had teacher workshops, probably about 300 people have been through our mostly annual teacher workshops. And they have continued to give us feedback. They've been an integral part of bringing the story of volcano hazards into local communities. And teachers come back year after year on some occasions, and others recommend more people. We rarely have to do advertising. So I suggest that you check out these activities, whether or not you teach about volcanoes or have one in your backyard, your community's backyard. Take a look at some of these perennial favorites. You see my colleague on the left there, Liz Westby, at the top left, looking at the Cascades Volcano Timeline, where we mingle historical events and people's family events with the hazards, with what past volcanic eruptions. There's Lahar in a Jar, where we look at how little water actually is required to get a Lahar volcanic mudflow into action. It's pretty shocking. And then we have the Shoebox Geologist activity, where we are teaching people how to observe the different kinds of layers that they see, and looking at just learning how to observe. The fourth one on the right there is the Fire and Ice activity, and that's where we use ice cream and we use wax from crayons, and we actually emulate some of the features on Mount Rainier that were formed by the presence of big ice age glaciers which routed the lava flows. I hear that. One really cool thing is that we've been able to take this to South America, especially to Colombia, do teacher workshops there and initiate some activity in those volcanic areas. And the last one just shows how we all work together. So contact myself or my colleague Liz Westby, get more information. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Carolyn. Dave Randall, please.
Okay, hi, I'm Dave Randall. I'm from the American Museum of Natural History in New York. And I wanted to share with you kind of a smorgasbord of different things that we have that can be used for teaching earth science. And any of these things you can find if you just Google AMNH and then whatever the thing you're looking for. We have a pretty vast website, but there's a lot of stuff there, a lot more than just what I've listed here. But I'll kind of run through really quickly, and then I want to focus a little bit on the teaching cases, kind of explain what that model is. So Ology is a website for kids. It was originally designed for kind of elementary school kids to use at home, and we learned that a lot of teachers have been using it. So if you go to Ology, you'll see channels for lots of different kinds of science. There's an astronomy channel, there's a earth science channel, and so there's some games and activities that can be used and adapted for the classroom in there. The teaching collections I'll circle back to, but these are sets of resources that allow a teacher to contextualize large sets of data for their students and then have their kids do actual data analysis along the lines of what a scientist would do. And I'll talk about that in a second. Open Space is a multi-million-dollar NASA grant that we got to develop open source software for exploring the universe. And the software is there, it's downloadable. It's got a huge learning curve. But if anybody has computer chops and they want to download data sets and kind of fly through the universe or fly to Mars or other places, OpenSpace is available for that. There's a community, online community to kind of help you through it. We currently use OpenSpace to design the space shows that we show at our museum right now. And then we have a series of online courses. We have a brand new one that we're going to start in about a month on teaching remotely, kind of using these resources now that everybody's kind of had to shift over to, this format for a lot of their teaching. We have a set of curriculum materials for designing NGSS instruction. Those are the 5 tools and processes. And then Seminars on Science is our graduate level, courses for teachers. And that's not free, so I won't spend any time on that. So maybe next slide. So the teaching cases, we have 4 of them. One of them is on the GRACE satellites, and that's the data that you see behind this slide. We have one on earthquakes in Bangladesh, and then we have a couple that aren't earth science, but we have one on zebra mussels in the Hudson River, and then a brand new one that we have on blue whales. And they all follow kind of the same model. There's readings and videos that go with them. Basically the readings and the videos are complementary, and they sort of, kind of go through a progression. So the first video and the first reading is the introduction, which kind of sets the stage for whatever the problem is. And then you stop after that and have the kids sort of think about, okay, what if you were going to investigate this, what kind of data would you need to look for and how would you find it? And of course, that's what the next video and reading kind of goes into. And so the kids can check. And then after that, we do data analysis. So for the earthquake in Bangladesh reading, we have the kids do some investigation into the different kinds of plate boundaries. And then we look using, and I notice Iris is coming up later on in the slideshow, but we use Iris, the earthquake data browser, to actually investigate what the patterns that the students would notice around each of those different kind of plate boundaries, and then try to figure out what's going on in Bangladesh, where they're looking for a big fault. In GRACE, we use the data visualization that you see in the background, which is basically water storage anomaly globally. And then we have a graphing tool that you can zoom in to Antarctica and Greenland to examine ice mass lost. After the kids do that, then they learn from the video and the reading what the scientists are finding about this exact same subject. And then the third is the broader, or the last piece is the broader implications. And I think I'm out of town. So
Thank you so much, Dave.
come out.
Carla, please.
Hang on a second, starting my timer. Okay, so I'm Carla McAuliffe, and I actually work for Turk, which is a nonprofit based in Cambridge, Massachusetts, but I am co-PI on a project with Concord Consortium, which is another nonprofit organization. And so if you'll go to the first link there, they have a bunch of free earth science resources. It's up at the top. Whoops. Yep. This is sort of the landing page for the earth science resources. If you scroll down, you'll see that there are a number of free online modules. There you go. Covering a range of different earth science topics, from earthquakes to hurricanes to climate change. And now we're working on a module on wildfires right now. If you can go back to the slide. So one of the key things in each of these modules is that they have an online model that has a number of different parameters that students can change. So for example, in the wildfire model, or what's called Wildfire Explorer, and there's a direct link to it down there, but we won't click on that right now. You can see that you can change the type of the terrain, you can change the type of vegetation. There are a number of different parameters, the direction the wind is blowing and wind speed, and then you put some sparks out and students do experiments. Next slide, please. So each of these models, or we call them explorers, are embedded within a learning module that is tied to NGSS, and it sort of scaffolds the use of the tool. So in the beginning, they don't get every single parameter that they can change. They just start with changing one parameter, and then eventually they get the full tool. So both the modules and the tools themselves are out there in Concord's website on the web for free. And I will just mention that they come with assessments and also a teacher guide, and there is a teacher dashboard behind all this. So that's one of the most exciting things about the project. If you go to the Hurricane module, we won't go there right now, Aida, but if you go there, then you can sign up with a free teacher account. And if you do that, it will track the responses that your students make as they go through the module, and you will get access to that data. So it's a very useful online teaching tool, set of tools, if you will. Just go ahead and click the Hurricane Explorer real briefly, because I think I haven't heard a ding yet, but I'll look at my timer. I've got 49 seconds left. Okay, yeah, if you click that, it should bring up the Hurricane model, which might take a second to load here. But I just thought you could see, so you do have the ability to move those highs and lows and again, change things. But if you just click start right now, where it's set up, you'll see how these things work. So students change the parameters and then they run the model and the hurricane develops. They can change the season in the hurricane one as well. So these are, again, free earth science resources from Concord Consortium, and very useful. Thank you.
Thanks, Carla. Tammy from IRIS, you're up next, please. Tammy.
Hi, I am Tammy Bravo, a seismologist and seismology outreach specialist working for IRIS Education and Public Outreach. IRIS is a consortium of universities studying seismology, operating the National Science Foundation's SAGE facility. So because we're NSF funded, everything we create is freely available. I'm going to present one of our resources today called Recent Earthquake Teachable Moments. But my first slide really highlights the range of resources that IRIS offers that can add to your curriculum. With my purple arrows, I wanted to highlight the left-hand menu of our Teachable Moments page. This includes web-based visualizations, tools that allow students to explore patterns of earthquake distribution in the IRIS Earthquake Browser, or another example, Seismic Waves web tool that allows students to visualize how seismic waves travel through the interior of the planet. Additionally, we have hundreds of animations that are short that can support concepts that you're teaching in class. We have numerous lesson plans and videos and other resources. Additionally, we have professional development opportunities that we are currently transitioning to this online environment. The resource page that I'm highlighting for today is our Teachable Moments page. Teachable Moments are classroom-ready PowerPoint presentations we create following every magnitude 7 earthquake that occurs anywhere in the world. We'll do smaller magnitude earthquakes that occur in the United States. The goal is for these presentations that if students have heard about an earthquake in the news and come to class with questions, or maybe you've just taught about earthquakes, a recent earthquake can really give an opportunity to reinforce those concepts in context. And so we designed these presentations to really tell the story of an earthquake. In the current situation where most students aren't in the classroom, we're exploring whether pairing questions with the presentations would give the students the opportunity to independently explore these recent earthquakes in kind of a structured approach. The red arrow on the screen points to where we have those questions linked, off of the Teachable Moments page. The most recent earthquake is at the top, and then we've archived everything we've done. I can't believe we've been doing these for a decade. If you step back just one page, just above the red arrow, there's an envelope icon where you can sign up to receive email notifications when a presentation is available. Okay, if we switch to the next slide, in the interest of the time limit of this presentation, I opted to show just a couple sample slides. Can we switch the slide? There we go. From the recent magnitude 5.1 earthquake in North Carolina, to talk a little bit about what you could expect from a slide set. These are available before school starts the day following the earthquake. So our goal is to be really rapid with the response. They're downloadable from our website as a PowerPoint presentation, because if you notice from these samples I put up, often I add a little extra text because I want to make sure that I'm completely explaining the graphics on the slide to help you understand, so that then whether it's used to answer students' questions or reinforce concepts teaching, it gives you all the information that you need. The idea being that they're PowerPoint, they're completely editable. So once you get a sense, you can strip some of the text off, or even delete slides if they're not quite appropriate for the level of your class. I show 4 slides in this example. Presentations are normally 10 to 20 slides, all depending on the individual earthquake. They normally include interpreted maps, regional tectonic maps, USGS figures, seismic hazard, animations if it can help explain the region, interpreted in seismograms, damage photos, tsunami information. In the case of North Carolina, this is really not a spot that's generally associated with earthquakes. So the story of this earthquake is exploring why this region has earthquakes. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have Earth Labs. Carla, you're going to speak with this one.
Oops. Okay, hang on just a second. Start the timer. Okay, so again, this is Carla McAuliffe. I work for Turk, which is a nonprofit based in Cambridge, Massachusetts that develops curricula, does professional development, and we do educational research. So the Earth Labs project is one that's been going on for a long time. It's a set of online modules. It has been sponsored by NSF funding, NASA funding, and some other internal funding at Turk. Earth Labs allows students to visualize data, analyze data, and there's also hands-on activities that are embedded in it. It's a fully online course with a number of different modules designed for high school or science. It has been used in middle school as well. Go ahead to the next slide, please. And we'll just take a minute. My contact information is there, but we'll take a minute and I'll just take you quickly to the Earth Labs site so you can explore it and get a look at it. So click the top link, Earth Labs. Yeah, thank you. So this was developed as NGSS was coming online, but we have since then gone back and tagged it for the next generation science standards. It's also recently had an internal update. So if you click on, let's just click on one of these things here. How about Earth System Science? Fine. So this is one of the labs or modules, if you like. And this is sort of the teacher edition, which kind of gives you the background information. And then up at the top, if you click on student pages, you will see that there are actually 2 versions of the Earth Labs. There's, in essence, the teacher background teacher guide, and then there's the online student portal, which is what this is here. And so it has questions, it has activities. If we click on Lab 1, Think Globally, Act Locally, you'll see again that this is directed directly towards the student. And there are embedded questions, assessment that are all in it. The curriculum is all free. You can sign up to get more information about it back on the Earth Labs page. But in general, it's all out here for free for you to use in your teaching. Thank you.
Thanks very much. Don Haas, you're up next, please. Don.
Hi there. I'm Don Haas. I'm the Director of Teacher Programming at the Paleontological Research Institution, which is part of, or one of its venues is the Museum of the Earth. And I'm going to mostly talk about our new resource that we unveiled in late August, Earth at Home, which you can see an image of the homepage there. If you click on that, Aida, it'll take you to the page, and we'll take a look at that. It should, anyway.
No, it won't.
And I put the link in the chat if it's not cooperating from there. So
Thank you.
yes,
Here we go.
There we go. So there's some animation here that highlights a couple of the things that we'll look at. If you scroll down just a little bit, then you can see some of that stuff. It's a very, very rich resource already, but we'll be adding the equivalent of a new chapter a month for the foreseeable future. We expect to be doing, adding content to it over the next 5 years. If you scroll back up a little bit, so you can see the menus at the top. There's Here on Earth, the Digital Encyclopedia, Virtual Science, About and Donate. We are a nonprofit organization, so we appreciate your help. Let's take a look at under the Digital Encyclopedia, Ancient Life. And the Digital Atlas of Ancient Life is what where if you scroll down a little bit, you can explore 3D models. There are over 500 3D models of fossils within the collection, and there are chapters describing the things that you're seeing there. Some of this is written at the undergraduate level, but some of it is appropriate for the high school level. And we also have the Encyclopedia of Earth Science, which is not as developed yet, but like I said, we'll be adding content to that at the rate of about a chapter a month. And if we go back to the slides, there we are, and go to the next slide. And the second slide has a bunch of screen grabs with that are all hot linked to now that link is working, I think. Have we lost the slideshow?
Okay, yes, we have.
No, actually, the slideshow has an image of where we just were. So
we're going to do this a different way. Here we go.
Yeah, there we go.
There you go.
So Earth at Home is one of a wide range of resources that that's available from PRI. Each one of those images is hot linked. The Changing Climate, Our Future, Our Choice is our brand new virtual exhibit on climate and energy. The For Educators page is a new page that sort of gives highlights of resources, and I've mentioned a couple of the other things there. The virtual fieldwork page, that's my timer. The virtual fieldwork page points to a bunch of resources that include both virtual fieldwork experiences and resources for creating your own. The virtual labs page is a new page that we'll be adding content to over time, and very much welcome feedback on that. And I think my time is up.
Thank you, Don. Susan, you are up next. Oh, it's going to jump out again. Let me get out of here real quickly. Just 1 second. We have to cheat the system here. There we go. All right, Susan Chapman, you're up next, please.
Great, thank you. So we have a couple of sites. I'm with the Soil Science Society of America, and all of the work, all of the development, all of the information on these couple of sites I'm going to show you has been done by a very dedicated group of K-12 members and resources. So it's been fabulous, the work they've done. Anyway, so this is our main site. You can see down below, soilsforteachers.org. And if you can click on that, that would be great. And while it's loading, it's got a slideshow on it. Just want to highlight sort of the things, the navigation up on the top. Soil basics, soils, you don't have to go to that one, but soils by, so it's just a quick overview. It has a lot of links to other informational resources. Soil by subject, if you just hover over that, you can see the drop downs. We've divided it into a lot of different topical areas if teachers or students want to dig into various parts of soil science. Around the world, if you click on that, the committee developed state soil booklets for every state. Oh, sorry, you have to just hover, I'm sorry. See if we can do that. Go to state soil booklets. So we've got great booklets for every state, informational, what the state soil is, what is grown in the soil, environmental concerns, how it's formed, all of the formation components. And then there's an activity that goes along with it, a couple of different activities. So if you scroll back up, land and people, a lot more resources. And then click to the lessons and activities, please. This is our matrix right now. It's very close to getting not just a facelift, but a whole content lift. We've got, again, divided by the same types of soil subjects, by grade level, and as soon as we launch our new database, you'll be able to also search by the type of activity, whether it's a lab, whether it's in the field, whether it's suitable for outreach. You can search by the NGSS standards, and even by keywords. And then teachers will also be able to highlight, select a couple of activities and even put them in a binder for use. So if we can click back to the home. One of the other snapshots that we can get right now is if you go down to that view our email on soil plant science resources. Quick overview, we sent this to all of our teachers. We have about 2,500 teachers on our list, right when the coronavirus was hitting, just to give them some quick, easy things to do. The state soil booklets. We did a webinar for teachers on Soils Foundation for Life last year. That's about an hour long. Great way to brush up on your soil science. We've got videos that have also some activities that go with them. And we try to span like all different grade levels. So for the younger kids, why don't we click on the coloring and activity book? It's the third bullet. And all of these are available to simply use. So lots of great like fun activities that kids can learn about soils. Can do it even just at home. Some are coloring, some are activities. So it's a fun resource. And it's available to simply print. Okay, we go back. So anyway, so that is our main site for lots of resources. And all of the resources that we put on here, all of the content that we put on here, we actually have one of our soil scientists review first, whether it's an activity on a different site or it's one that we've developed. They've reviewed it to make sure that the science is correct before we post it. And then this one is our soilsforkids.org. We don't need to go into this one. I just wanted to do a quick, show a quick look of it. Kids can choose their grade level. They can go do some fun activities. There's some experiments they can do, some games. I think probably the coloring book is on there. Do a little bit of career exploration. And those are our sites. And those are our informational resources.
Thank you very much, Susan.
Mm-hmm.
Katie Boyd, CLEAN, please.
Hi, and thank you. Yeah, I'm here to talk about CLEAN, which is the Climate Literacy and Energy Awareness Network. We have 3 big parts of CLEAN that we try to host for teachers. First, we have our collection of resources, and unlike some of the other folks who are talking today, we don't develop any of these resources. This is a curated collection where we scour the internet and find good resources for teaching about climate and energy. We do this because there's a lot of misinformation out there, and then we actually put it through a review process where we review it for scientific accuracy as well as pedagogical quality. And so we have scientists and educators reviewing this, making sure that these are all quality resources, and then we put them into our database. And from the review process, we actually gain a lot of information about the resource. So we're able to tag it and make it really easily searchable. You can search for things through NGSS, through topics in climate and energy, grade level, type of activity, whether there's a scientific data set used, all kinds of different things that you can search for using the tags that our reviewers provide. And then on each resource page, we also get a lot of information about each resource, so you can read about the pedagogy and about the science and some of the details before you get to actually taking this activity and putting it into your classrooms. So all the activities or all the resources we have are classroom ready, and we align them with NGSS. We've recently expanded into elementary grades, so we actually have all grade levels from kindergarten up through early college level included in our database. And the other thing that we provide is sort of the second big part of CLEAN is our guidance for teaching climate and energy. This is where we have a lot of background pages, support, guidance, other professional development opportunities for teachers. We have unit guides to help you align clean resources and create an NGSS aligned unit and things like that. We also have a professional development webinar series. It's currently ongoing, so I'll put some links into the chat as I talk. Oh, and it looks like somebody already put our homepage in there, but I wanted to mention our webinar series is currently happening throughout October and a little bit into November, so check that out if you're interested. We have a lot of short webinars on how to teach about climate and energy coming up. We also provide a newsletter that goes out every couple of weeks that links clean resources to current events that are happening. We have recently developed a virtual teaching page to help folks navigate clean, and we're trying to tag resources for things that can be easily searched for virtual learning. And if you're interested in virtual learning and you're an elementary teacher, we also have an elementary virtual learning session for students we're putting on next week to kind of launch our new elementary collection and support pages. So if you're interested or you know an elementary teacher that might be interested in that, check it out. I put the registration into the chat. And then finally, as the CLEAN network is the last piece of CLEAN, and this is a community of practice of educators and others who support climate education. And so it's a nice email list that you can get other feedback or questions answered around your teaching. You can join weekly teleconference calls, which aren't always at the best time for teachers, but we've had teachers present in the summers, and other ways to get involved with the network as well. And if you wouldn't mind just going to the last slide. I just put this up here, really briefly wanted to mention this is our review process. You don't need to understand it, but I like to show it because I think it shows how rigorous CLEAN really is with their resources. And if you see this selected by CLEAN logo anywhere, you'll know that that's a resource that's in CLEAN. I've heard a couple of the Ology and the Climate, the Concord Consortium and some of these other groups, we have their resources in our collection. So if you see those out and about on other folks' websites, you'll know that it's a quality resource. Thank you very much.
Hi everyone, my name is Sequoia McGee and I am the Outreach Coordinator for the Education and Outreach Department at the American Geosciences Institute, also known as AGI. Today I'll be talking about the Education Geosource, or EGS for short, one of AGI's most popularly used professional development resources. With over 3,500 resources listed, Education Geosource is the most comprehensive collection of earth science educational resources available online. EGS is geared towards use in K-12 classrooms by providing a searchable database of educational resources from a wide range of science organizations like NSTA, NASA, AMS, USGS, just to name a few. Each resource has details such as a description and a link to the original source, big ideas of earth science, and connections to the next generation science standards. Next slide, please, Aida. Thank you. Education GeoSource provides free access to earth science educational activities, teacher professional development opportunities, curricula, education standards, virtual field trips, videos and animations, assessment materials, funding opportunities, award information, organization contacts, and believe it or not, even more. The website makes it easier than ever to find what you're seeking, for example, by allowing users to search for activities by a given standard of the NGSS. From there, you can further filter and narrow down your search by adding search terms and selecting and sorting through the categories offered based on your search, such as grade level, etc. You can also create your own account for future browsing or simply save your searches or discover resources for future reference. That's my favorite part because it's like an online wish list, except the resources are free. To visit Education GeoSource, go to egs.americangeosciences.org. There you can find geoscience education resources you're seeking, review our collection, suggest additional resources, and help us strengthen the collection. We encourage you to also explore our department's webpage to learn more about the array of educational products and services that we offer online for K-12 educators at americangeosciences.org/education. I would also like to quickly add that the learning resources that Aida will be sharing with you all in just a moment are also linked to Education GeoSource. Thanks for your time.
Thank you very much, Sequoia. So it's my turn. I get my 4 minutes here, so I'm going to be sharing with you the Geoscience Women in STEM website. So Lyda Hill Philanthropies, Nautilus, and the American Geosciences Institute are proud to collaborate through Earth Science Week, which of course is this week, to advance the vision of If Then, an initiative of Lyda Hill Philanthropies in promoting girls and women in STEM. And the question that's asked is, how can we inspire young people to imagine themselves as potentially having a future in STEM fields when many of the people they see represented in those roles don't look like them and aren't portrayed as having the same background or a similar background? So I'm pleased to introduce you to these 4 trailblazing women geoscientists. Included in them are 3 of the over 100 AAAS If Then STEM ambassadors, and they are Hope Jaron, the author of Lab Girl and a biogeochemist, Shiloh Ragoff, a climate scientist and policy advocate, Jessica Esquivel, a particle physicist, and Jasmine Sadler, an aerospace engineer. And I invite you to explore the curriculum connections modules that are developed around their work of each of these women and the activities that really serve as jumping off points for educators and students to explore the geosciences through their work. I'm going to show you a couple of examples of what's in the modules. We won't go out to the website. There are many pages, and I'm not going to take you through those right now. So you can see visuals on this slide. In lesson 1, which is in that first column, we engage students who often arrive in class with a preconceived idea about who a scientist is, what they do, what kinds of activities they engage in. And this first activity is called the Draw a Scientist test. You may be familiar with it. Unit 1 also engages the students in a close read, a biographical article of each of the scientists. And then finally, they build a timeline and engage in looking at an image array where they're challenged to think about the types of work those scientists might do in each of the locations that are shown. And some of those locations are a little bit challenging for the students because it's something like maybe a parking lot. Interesting. In lesson 2, in the center column, we help connect STEM classroom learning to real-world STEM work through a series of engaging hands-on activities for each scientist that focuses in on the foundational science supporting their work. And here you see examples including thinking about paleoclimates through the use of a tree ring simulator that comes from UCAR, a NOAA ocean acidification activity, a NASA activity called Catching a Whisper from Space, and then activities centered around maker-style wind turbine designing and building. And then moving on to the third column in lesson 3, in those modules, we are asking students to really identify the strong connections between themselves, their local communities, and the science. So in the module focused on Hope Jiren's work, students explore the carbon cycle through a carbon cycle game. And in the module focused on Shiloh Ragoff's work, students learn about the impacts of changing climate in their own local area, and then they compare them to another location as they think deeply about decision-making, communication, and good citizenship. In Jasmine Sadler's modules, we focus on her work to build better communities by building strong networks of STEAM workers. And here students are asked to create a network map of their own. And then finally, my favorite is Jessica Esquivel's passion for all things sci-fi. And in that module, students are asked to write their own sci-fi stories and debunk the science in them. So I'd invite you to explore the modules and the resources that are available at the link shown on this page. Did I make it under my 4 minutes?
Just barely. Good
Oh,
job.
phew. Oh, good. Okay. Thanks, everybody. Missy, do we have some questions that we have from the chat box perhaps that we want to entertain here? We've got just about maybe 3 minutes to do that.
Sure, we have a number of them. So we'll start with Anne. So Anne, a couple questions for you. Are there mineralogists who would be ready to talk to classrooms as part of your resources?
Yeah, actually, we have a program I should have mentioned. We have an ambassadors program, and we started that with the Centennial last year. So we had mineralogists who would go into classrooms, and it all got put onto hold because of the pandemic. But that doesn't mean it's not going to happen again or it can't happen virtually. So the answer is yes.
Terrific. We'll stick with you with another question. A question about minerals is often how to make them relevant to young people. Often their identification or their pretty rocks. Do your materials address this?
Yeah, if you go to the Minerals Day website, we've got it divided into the science of minerals, the value of minerals. In other words, you depend upon minerals every second of the day, and the beauty of minerals. So we're trying to appeal to people, whether it's intellectually or emotionally or just practically, about why minerals are so important. So yes.
Terrific. Okay, Carolyn, a question for you. Are there strategies for using the curricula for those that do not live in the area without volcanic hazards? And could teachers possibly take part in those workshops that you mentioned? Other teachers from other states?
Sure. I'll mention we have, for the workshops, we have lots of teachers from out of state taking part, and they come and they usually enjoy, a few days or a week extra at Mount Rainier, in addition to the time they spend with us. And then for, regarding your first question, yes, people can take it. Those activities, I urge people, if you're interested at all, take a look at them and see how they apply. The law of superposition is one of them, learning how to look at rocks, how to make observations. All those are included, and it's definitely worthwhile taking a look at what's there.
Terrific, thanks so much. Dave, can the teaching case studies be implemented in a remote classroom, and are there tips on how to do so?
Yeah, I've actually used them in a remote classroom. We haven't published any tips, but if you can have people read and then play a video, it works really well. And then what I've done with groups that I've worked with is done breakout groups and had different kids work the data visualization and the analysis tools. So I've done it with teachers. I'm waiting to hear about how they're going to implement it with their students, but I think it's really doable.
Terrific. Carla, quick question about the Concord Consortium modules. They look wonderful. How long do the modules usually take?
To be 1 week for a full module. We do know that teachers go in and do just pieces, individual lessons, but to do the entire hurricane module would be 1 week.
Okay, terrific. It's good to know. And Tammy, if a teacher's new to teaching Earth and Space Science, are there resources and tutorials to assist teachers with the content as well as the pedagogy? Because I'm like the misconceptions that students might hold and all that.
Yeah, on our site, we not only have videos that talk about the science and actually incorporate some of the demos that we present as an example on how to teach it in front of a classroom. We additionally have pieces we've recorded about different lessons where we talk about tips and tricks for incorporating it into the classroom, as well as exactly that. And anticipating misconceptions and, you know, directing students along the path that you want them to go.
Terrific. Thank you. Carla, for Turk, can a teacher create a login and capture and assess the student work that's in the Earth Labs?
That was not in Earth Labs. That's for Concord Consortium. You can log in and get the data. For Earth Labs, students get immediate feedback.
Okay.
So they get to know whether what they put in was correct or incorrect.
Terrific.
Embedded.
Okay, great. Thank you. And Katie, do you find the teachers are generally ready to teach about climate, and are there resources to help them learn behind the activities and issues?
Yeah, I actually don't think, as somebody who is trained in climate science and understands it well enough to teach aspects of it, there are other aspects I don't feel very well prepared to teach about. So it's a very complex thing to teach, and even if you feel prepared, you may not be able to teach all the different aspects of it, right? So we have a lot of, that's in the teaching guidance section. I tried to talk a little bit about that, but didn't go into detail of, we do have background pages that go into all of the information you'll need as a teacher, how you might teach it, misconceptions students have, and then links to the activities in our collection that address those. And then the webinars, the series that I put into the chat earlier, I think is another great place for teachers to be able to interact with us at CLEAN and learn about that, but then also ask questions. And then the CLEAN Network's one other resource for teachers to be able to ask questions of other folks doing similar work and trying to figure out exactly the best way to do the things that they're trying to do in the classroom. So many ways through CLEAN to get more of that background knowledge and training and more confidence in teaching climate, because it's a really hard, very complex topic to try to bring into the classroom.
Great.
Thank you so much, everybody, for your questions. That was great. We did want everybody to complete the post-webinar survey, and actually, if you would like to earn the certificate of participation for this webinar, you do have to complete that survey. So you can see the link there up on the screen currently. If you would please grab that link, and it is also in the chat. Thank you, Mitchell, for dropping that in the chat. I would remind you that this webinar series is a monthly series. We have another webinar coming up on the 12th of November from WestEd. Registration is open and materials will be coming out to you via email very soon. The webinar series is brought to you by NAGT and NESTA and AGI. And in order to finish right at the top of the hour, we want to thank everyone for participating today. Thank you for our 12 presenters presenting their resources. I know it's a lot of work to put together just a very short 4-minute presentation and 2 slides. We very much appreciate you doing that for the community. And if you have questions or thoughts or comments that you weren't able to drop into the chat today, please do feel free to reach out to one of us, to myself or to Ed or to Missy. We're happy to hear from you, as well as to hear suggestions for other webinars that we might offer in the future. I want to thank everybody for joining us this afternoon. Have a great rest of your day and happy fall.